Welcome, everybody. It's really my pleasure to welcome today Aurélie Jean and Grégory Renard for this AI Crossroad. So just to remind you, the AI Crossroad are the monthly meeting place for AI in Wallonia. They present concrete case of application of artificial intelligence and sorry. From companies or applied research, but also the international artificial intelligence landscape. So today it's a bit an outstanding panel that we have with a dialogue we will have with Aurélie and Grégory during the European AI Week. So, Aurélie, you have been working for more than 15 years as a research scientist and as an entrepreneur in computational science applied to engineering, medicine, education, economy, finance, and journalism. In the past, you worked at the MIT and at Bloomberg. And today you work and live between the US and France, where you share your time between consulting, research, and teaching and writing also, right? And teaching in grad schools, executive education, mainly at MIT. You're also a tech and science advisor for several companies and a mentor for the Frontier Development Lab at NASA. Okay, you are also an external collaborator for the Ministry of Education in France. You are Chief AI Officer and co-founder of the AI deep tech startup DeepX in precision and predictive medicine applied to breast cancer. Thank you for being there already. It's a pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
Again. And Grégory, we see each other quite soon. You are former math professor and data scientist, and you are passionate about a connected world where universal access to information and knowledge frees people to achieve their full potential. So you are a humanist, and you want also, as when we talk together, you want also to give your payback to Europe and support either the France AI plan, but either the Belgian AI plan, as you are both nationalities. You work on data pipeline and supervised machine learning and deep learning applied to natural language, spoken dialogue system, conversational platform, emotional AI, social robots and voice search. So you are currently leading and advising applied AI vision and strategy for different ventures, live universities and nonprofits, of which you are a co-founder, advisor, or business angel. So I will not cite them all. You can maybe talk about it. So we can discuss many things, but the first thing and the first question that come to my mind is really the fact that we already have some fragmentation using digital, and will AI also create a digital gap between the people? So can AI be at the service of the most people, the greatest number? How can we democratize these technologies which will reduce or eliminate the gaps or broaden it? So, Aurélie, do you
Sure.
want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
answer?
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's a very important question that you
Hmm.
ask. So wondering, you know, we should wonder, we should ask ourselves how we can make technologies accessible to the largest amount of people in the world. Independently to the type of people, the age, etc., etc. And we know that we tend to develop technologies and we tend to innovate by creating technology that are more and more complex, more and more sophisticated, and more expensive. And usually I like to say that when we think about innovation, we tend to think that creating something new, but sometimes it's also interesting to create something not entirely new, but maybe to make the previous generation of technology more accessible to a larger amount of people in the world. And I always think about that, about the cell phone, for instance. So every single technology we're using on a daily basis, we tend to buy the new technology, a new device, every 6 months or every year. And we should think more about how we can make the previous generation technology more accessible to a larger amount of people in the world. So obviously, it's an important matter. It's an important matter also not only about whether you can access this technology, but also whether you can understand this technology. And I would say that we have also to make sure that people all over the world, whatever your age, your gender, the country you're from, you should be able to understand the underlying mechanisms of those technologies. And this is very important, because if you don't understand those technologies, how it works, you don't really understand how to use those, and you don't see the opportunities, you don't see the threats as well. I mean, obviously it's not a binary world. We know it's there are different nuances and different shades, and we have to make sure that we're using the technology in the right way for the right goal, for good. So obviously it's going to be a big challenge in the next few years, which is make sure that everybody can access technology, everybody understands those technologies, so we can make sure that everybody is using those technology in the right way for good. And we also invest the money to the right field, to the right technology at a state level or at business angel, VCs level. All those things together are very important. And so this is, what I would say. But I know Grégory has also a lot of ideas about that, especially about the fact that he's working hard on making those technology accessible in many ways to people.
Okay, thank you for this transition. So,
Yeah,
please, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you already we've got a lot of discussion with already how we can definitely make sure that this kind of technology were definitely disrupting our civilization can be useful not only for a few people, but for all the people, exactly as we had the history for electricity. Electricity today is mainstream. Anyone can benefit from electricity. We cannot think about our life without electricity. And the big question right now is how technology is really useful and benefits big companies and people like us who understand or who are in the domain from many years. And we don't really need to ask anyone to understand the math behind, but more making sure that we can have this kind of technology applied for people at the right level to provide to them maybe more time, more wellness, helping to save money, and making sure that they can use it daily in the right way. There is big challenge, and we will see more and more jobs will be changed definitely by this type of technology. And I think about my job, I like to say to my teams, if I'm looking the tools we are building for the moment, I will not do the same job in 3 years. My job is dead. And it's amazing to think like that. Because we will have machine, we will be more and more self-learning. They will be able to learn by themselves very quickly about data, everything, extrapolate. And it's why we need to completely think, and education is really key. Education is really an element we need to take care. We move outside of the third industrial revolution to education, and I think again education can be a key element to lifelong learning, helping people and building tools that making mainstream for everyone. That's what we try to do in the new venture I joined with Applied AI Corporate, and focusing on investing in companies who are applying technology and AI for the good.
And maybe if I can say, I would also add something to what Greg said, which is, I like to say usually that we build technologies made by everyone for everyone, which is very important as well, meaning that if we only have a small amount of people who are building those technologies without any eye from other kind of people, we will tend to build this technology for a narrow set of people only. And we have, so if we, for instance, if only men from 20 to 25 years old are building technologies, they might not think about the women of 55 years old, even older, you know what I mean? If we are only like, healthy people with no issues, no handicap, nothing, we tend to build those technology from our own perspective, forgetting about others. So I would say also, if we want to make those AI-based technologies, accessible, available to the largest amount of people in the world, and ideally to everyone, we have to make sure that those technologies are built and envisioned by the largest amount of people with the minimum diversity. So we make sure that we have a broad range of visions and perspectives. So the technologies are eventually inclusive, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you say, but how do we do? Because when I wrote the first note for Axel Lemaire, saying, okay, we need to have a plan, because people referring to artificial intelligence have Terminator in mind, or HAL. So they fear AI in a way. So it has evolved a bit, but the majority of the people are not so well interested in that. So I used to say also that we can reinvent the European project, investing in the climate change, societal challenges, or sustainable development goals, the health environment challenge, and artificial intelligence could be the third one. But what are the ways to make the citizen more involved in this debate? So it is important, would you agree?
Sure.
But how do we do concretely?
So there is not one unique solution. Obviously, there are many solutions that should work together, which is schools, education, but also more important, even as important, I would say, which is the way Grégory and I are building our technologies, because I know how Grégory is working, is that I never developed those algorithms, technology with other scientists or engineers without involving the business. Meaning that today
it's user centricity, excuse me.
In a way, not only we involve them, like today, I mean, for my second company, I work with a doctor, a medical doctor. He came with the vision. He came with the idea. I came with the scientist idea, but he came with the business idea. Without his vision, the technology wouldn't be as efficient as it is today. It wouldn't be even possible. And because he's there, he can actually challenge me, and the technology is better. And it's the same. I work right now with a perfumer, and I listen to him. He works with me. He challenges him. I am with him along, to see how he works, because if I don't do that, I'm gonna build a biased algorithm. So I would say education, obviously, but also in business, when you develop those technologies, you should not develop those technology on your side without talking to people, without talking to the users, without involving the users, who should be a collaborator in a way. And then obviously there are different scales. So if you work at the state level, obviously there is also a push, from the state to invest in this research, development, private or public research, because I think both should move forward together. Etc. But I will let Grégory add more to what I've just said.
I think there is two elements you mentioned. First one, it's super duper important to have more women in our domain, to have balanced diversity, to make sure that it's not only white men like me creating this kind of tools. That's super important. Please don't be afraid. Go, and don't forget that at first it was a domain created by women at first. And let's come back on the second point regarding technology. I think that right now we arrived on the second wave. Second wave is mainly about how you can adopt and how you can apply that in your daily work. You don't need to understand the math. You don't need to be afraid about the math. Let's the people like us and amazing engineers that are coming right now out of the university with the knowledge do the job. But teach yourself. It's super important that you can, exactly as you already said, that you can exchange with people, challenge, and the technology need to be at the service of the business and not the opposite. Exactly as today the electricity is at the service of the business and everything. And it's why it's super important that we can make sure that we are evolving in that way. For the moment, I'm working with an amazing company in France, with IDEA. We are working with the COMEX and the CEO, and they are embracing. It's a company who didn't have any background and backend about the data. After 6 months, people that were not doing a lot about AI technology or maybe nothing, they completely embraced it. We've got plenty projects started and already have a huge impact on their business. And it's how you change an economy. I'm so proud about that because maybe we will help to develop the company, create more jobs, directly and indirectly, helping them to understand that you've got a lot of value directly here with your data that you can exploit to better understand and extract actionable insights to take the right decision at the right time for your business. And that's really one of the key elements that I would like to recommend to anyone. Don't be afraid about that. Think about how you can approach a problem. What I like to do when I'm working with a new group, a new company, it's can we define all the processes inside of the company and try to detect what are the processes who are repetitive and cognitive. And let's start by that. And doing quick win, we don't need to do something big first. Maybe we don't need to create internally.
No.
Just need to augment people, making sure
refer to Andrew Ng's statement, artificial intelligence is about what we can do within 1 second of thinking.
Yes, partially. I was doing the same 10 years ago, almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Globally,
So it is your statement. Sorry.
No. But it's completely fine.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we don't care about the origin of this kind of element. We need to take care about anyone can access this type of technology.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
important.
If I summarize, ethics by design is really important and include multidisciplinary teams and the user in the design and of the AI new product or solution is crucial. And you have talked about the business aspect and a little bit about the public aspect, but what could you do or could you say about public solution that could be provided by the government to help, I don't know, to help the citizen simplify the process or give more accessibility to the public services. Have you been involved in such project or?
On my side, I'm not directly involved with any government directly to apply AI technology. I'm more involved with companies that can be directly in relation. Today, it's a week that I'm in Dubai and I'm so impressed about the situation here. They are so advanced. We were in a meeting with the government here talking about the regulation, how we can help moving the boundaries of the regulation to make it more simple to deploy this type of technology, making sure that this technology can benefit more people. And it's super impressive to see how.
Can you give concrete examples?
They can change regulation on different type of element, making sure that you can apply self-driving car in particular place in a safety mode, that you've got some place to directly they are defining boundaries and you can play inside of the boundaries and they can define directly the different element to help you move forward very quickly. Personally, I'm working for the moment and we are discussing about how it can benefit more people. We are thinking about disrupting and approaching the insurance domain and to make sure that we can reimburse more quickly people, we can simplify the process and automate the process to a lot of stuff, but also better understand everything happening regarding the healthcare domain. And, you know, if I've got a problem, I want to have the best doctor available. I want to know who is the best doctor with the high level probability and of success. I want to be reimbursed very quickly. I want to have simplified system. And that was a big part of our discussion around the week here, and certainly for the rest of the week. And it's we've got a world which is moving very quickly around everything through structured and unstructured data. But don't forget that it's nothing, it is good to have data, but it's more important to, exactly as already said, to understand how to apply that. What is the concrete domain and problem you are solving? It's why it's important to go to business people. I like to say that I'm not the main guy in the project. I'm here to listen here and said, okay, I think I can apply that to your problem here. Let's do it.
Okay. Aurélie, I don't know if you want to answer the question related to the public services or the government, but more in general, the government must also address the environmental, social, and
So I think
challenges.
the government as I don't separate state leaders from
Yeah.
economic leaders in this topic,
Okay.
because to me, state leaders and economic leaders have the same responsibilities towards people.
Okay.
Meaning that state leaders have the responsibilities to make sure that their citizens understand the technology, so make sure that the education is flexible over time, and to make sure that we help people who don't understand, because there will be always people who don't understand. You have to help them navigate into that world. It can be from making an appointment to a doctor or understand the diagnostics or whatever that was made by a technology. You know, you have to assist people. This is important. And economic leaders, we tend to forget them, but I don't forget them. They are responsible, meaning that as an economic leader, as a boss, you know, as the leader of a company, whatever the size of a company is, you have the responsibility to make sure that your collaborators understand, are trained over time, without stopping. You know, you cannot stop learning over time. That they're responsible to to help their employees, their collaborators grow within their company, etc., etc. And this to me is very, very important. The responsibilities are the same. Then at the state level and also at the company level, they have the responsibility to invest the right money into the right fields, to the right people. And this is, you know, very hard sometimes. And I have to say that I loved how the DARPA is working in the US. You know, the DARPA, Grégory knows, obviously, we all work with the DARPA. DARPA is an institution, managed by the defense over there. And it actually, it does research development. There's so mostly funds research project, development project, companies, startups. And we tend to forget about that. But most of the big corporates today in the US who are innovative in technology exist because the DARPA helped them at some point. And so we have to have this kind of vision at a state level to make sure that we invest in the right companies, right fields. And also, I would say for France and Europe, I often say that, but it sounds naive, but we should not think at the France level, we should think at the European level. For many reasons. First, because we need money, and we cannot have enough money at the country level like France or any other country in Europe. Then we need a lot of talents with very strong and narrow expertise, and we would find those talents only at the European level. And also we need data, even though you can have as much that data as you want. If you don't analyze and use this data correctly, it doesn't matter, but still you need a lot of data. And you can get this data at the European level. And we should not forget that we have the GDPR. The GDPR protects people's rights and personal data, but as important, it actually allows every single country in Europe to actually transfer, communicate personal data over countries. And this is a very interesting leverage that we don't use enough, I think, in Europe. And that could be a big difference, on the models we build. I don't know what Greg think about that, but
yeah, I wanted to come back on and maybe before answering to you already coming back on how government can help. I think helping on changing quickly regulation to make sure that we can apply very quickly. If there is technology that was not existing a few months before, we are releasing right now a new category of technology in insurance domain, and we were working with a leader in the domain that they said, okay, what you are creating will completely change how we are working. Definitely, we will not look at our work as we were looking before. Because we created a machine with absolutely unfair regarding analyzing documentation and capability to manage more than 1 billion documents a year. It's not at the level of the human. And it's why it's super important at the time to make sure that the government can follow and support the industry by moving the boundaries of the regulation. And in the same time, taking care about the security of the data, GDPR effect is I completely support, and I think it's super important, and also for myself and my kids. And but in the same time, we need to have access to this type of data to make sure that we can train model at the right level. And in the same time, we see that we are moving more and more in a new category of AI. As I was saying at the start of our discussion, I truly believe that my job is done, and my job will be definitely not the same. We call this wave the no-code code, the no-code approach, and some scientists are calling that self-learning, that I completely support. And it's machine that will learn almost by themselves. And we mean that it's machine who've got already some high-level representation about the data, and after they can fine-tune themselves about what they need to do. With some of my team, we're already working on this kind of tools. And it's completely, it seems like sci-fi, but it's not. At the end of the day, it's just math. And you need to understand how it's working. There is a high level of abstraction behind that, but the use cases are really simple. How you can fine-tune the machine to understand human values, to support you to analyze the ESG values globally and provide to the people in your pocket information about companies. Companies know almost everything about you. Why you don't know about the companies? Why you don't know that this company is maybe publishing yearly that they're against corruption, but at the end of the day, they've got a lot of corruption, and providing fact and proof about that. And we can very quickly train machine to move forward, understand this kind of approach, and supporting the people. And this way, it's super important that we can be supported by the government to change regulation around all the new use cases we will have. Sorry, I'm completely jet lagged.
Okay, I understand that. So we are working hard on these aspects for the moment. I mean, there is the proposal of AI Act by the European Commission. We will welcome Dragos Tudorache this evening, also after the following keynote.
To give you an example, here is the team of the Minister of AI here in Dubai, and they apply 71 adaptation of the regulation to support the AI industry over the last summer. That's amazing.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. You're right. Okay, I've seen, in the preparatory work we done, I've seen that we could using AI to ensure governance through measurement and sometimes near real-time anticipatory calculation. Do you have in mind predictive aspect of the use of digital twins by the states, or what did you have in mind related to that and the Sustainable Development Goals?
So maybe I can talk first, Greg, and then because I know it's more your topic. But the only thing I can say about that is that you can actually change something that you can measure. So it's very important to make measurements and to have measurements over time in real life, you know, if possible. And so me, I worked a bit when I was at Bloomberg. I worked on those measurements, you know, like water consumption or energy consumption in general for companies, because people who invest in the stock market, you know, in the public market, they want to know what is the position of the company on those topics, like on environmental, social, governance, and about diversity. We had a lot of metrics, you know, and indices, obviously, about that. And so how AI can help? Well, AI can help in combination with all the devices, IoT, that were developed in the past 20 years and that were obviously improved over the past years to actually collect data on real time. Then it helps analyze a large scale amount of data in a short period of time to make prediction or to anticipate what can happen, to detect weak signals, to anticipate strong signals, etc., and which obviously helped government companies, you know, in their policy, environmental, social policy. And I will let Greg talk about that, because I know he might have more things to say about that.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, we started a project just before COVID, and COVID time for me was absolutely amazing, as I spent almost all of my time finding a way to teach a machine human values and helping. It was an amazing project, super hard to arrive then. And globally, exactly as you said, the machine can definitely help the people, because you don't have the time daily while you are spending your money to accompany a brand. You don't know if this company or the brand got the same value as you. And maybe you are spending your money to a company that creating on another brand or sub-brand some guns or weapons. And you are against, and you say, no way, I will never put my money to finance this type of industry. But if you are not aware of what is happening, and it's why now it's time to use AI technology and machine learning technology to help people to have this kind of information about ESG. And not only on that point, but how we can create technology that is providing more information, more feedback to the people. Exactly, I'm coming back each time in the same way as actionable insights. There is plenty data today. Today, we've got daily too much data. It's impossible to analyze everything, to understand everything. And we can take sometimes decision that we understand just a quarter after that we made the wrong decision just because we didn't get the right level of data. It's why it's super important to have this type of tool and machine to help you to better understand the world around you on the data level. And the ESG approach is very interesting, as we've got the possibility to analyze globally everything, better understand, and analyze millions of articles daily, making a summary and providing back to the people to have the information, and also with factual elements, not only about simple information that you can read yourself.
Yes. Thank you, Grégory. Yes. There is also a big challenge. I see the time now, and I think we should address several big issue about education and lifelong learning. We have talked a bit about that, but I think, Aurélie, that is your maybe main contribution in this field. You are very well known for that, for the, I don't know, the in English, vulgarization or
pop science,
dissemination of what IT and AI is.
Well, I think we are all working in that, you know. I mean, Grégory is working as much as I do in that field. Because everything at different levels, first of all, everything we develop, we explain others who are non-technical, we explain what we do. So it's a kind of democratization. Then we explain in schools, because we both talk to students, kids, people around, and also we write. So me, I mean, I love writing. So for me, writing books and articles is very important because it helped me also understand the level of others and how I should use my, I should pick my words, you know, and the level of language I should master. So it's a big challenge. And also it's a big challenge because everything's are moving very fast. Everything is moving fast. The science is moving very fast because I always say that what I developed during my PhD thesis 13 years ago is not in the industry yet. What I developed 2 years ago as a research project is now within a startup. So we actually experience an acceleration of the translation of research results, private or public, to business case, you know, real life application. And I think it involves an acceleration of the knowledge and that we have to provide, that we have to explain, to talk about. And so it's a big challenge from the scientist perspective and engineer's perspective, because they have to explain things that are more and more complex and abstract to people who have to catch up over time. So it's a big challenge. And without going into details, like scientific details, obviously, because we develop more and more abstract algorithm with a level of opacity that is obviously, you know, it's more and more opaque. We tend to master not as much the explainability. So that's why we have also to, from our side of work, we have to apply those explainability calculation to make sure that we extract and we master as much as we can the logic of those algorithms. But that being said, it's obviously more and more difficult to explain people how it works. So, but it's not impossible. It's a matter of effort, it's a matter of time, and it's a matter of desire, to be honest, and generosity. And for instance, Greg is very generous, and he uses his time to, you know, to talk to people, to explain them, to talk with youth, kids, students. And this is actually, I would say, every single engineer and scientist should do, obviously. But also it has to be more valued in countries like France, you know, because it's not in the US. I don't know how you feel, Greg, about that, but it's more, we really value the pop science, you know, and the democratization of science from engineers. And I mean, I was at MIT and Bloomberg, Penn State, they all valued, you know, my contribution. I feel that in France, it's not as valued. It changes, you know, it's better, but I think we should, you know, more and more emphasize that within the careers of scientists and engineers, because it is very important. It's critical, really.
Yeah. And to completely going on your way, it's all domain is moving very quickly. Globally, I like my feedback and experience is about a quarter. When you've got a car and a new car, it's 8 years. You've got a revolution each quarter in your domain. And really at the end of the day, it's full revolution. For geek like me, it's completely amazing because it's like Disney daily. And you've got amazing stuff arriving on the market. You can discover, learn. You say, "Oh my, I can do that. Why not? Wow, that's absolutely cool." And in the same
time, many years that it is the case.
Yeah, of course, and it continues, and it will not stop. And in the same time, you don't need to understand everything. You need to understand how you can apply. And also I think it's super important to have the capability and the skills to create the right team to do it. And in a team, you don't need to have everyone who understands high technology. In a team, you maybe need to have 1 or 2 person who completely understand that deeply. But after, it's completely okay to have other skills. You need to have people who are designing the integration in the product, who are in relationship with the customer to understand the needs, how they would like to make adaptation, evolution on the product. You've got this. We were living exactly what we had where we were more younger with the evolution of informatics and the computer. We arrived at a time where the computer moved from companies to the personal computer at home with visionary guys like Jobs. And it's exactly the same one right now. I remember like 15 years ago, I was not saying that I was doing high technology because people were saying you are crazy, don't do that, never, you will never do anything, it will never work. And many years, 5-6 years ago, I was saying I'm doing high right now, and I'm really proud to do it and explain also. And why now I can explain, okay, no, I'm doing natural language processing and dialogue system and knowledge graph and maybe sometime working on the frontier between sociology and NLP. And you know, you've got the domain with coming exactly with more and more different categories of jobs, completely evolving regarding what we had a few years ago. It's really amazing, and I would like to don't think micro degrees are really amazing for that. Go online and learn yourself.
Yes. Okay, because we are talking about so many subjects at the same time, so I think yes, it's important that the vast majority of the people understand what are the possible application. At the same time, it goes so fast that it can fears a bit the people, but the role of the engineers, the scientists, is really to transmit, to explain, and we have cohesion, societal cohesion, or related to that. So. We are writing. We are with the AI for Belgium trying to write a new learning deal. So what would you put in this new learning deal? I think one of the key idea is we need so many competencies within a few years, and that the system is not able to produce the number of the competencies that we need, that we should leverage on different aspects. One aspect could be the student in computer science must have to teach the professor in high school, for example. Would you have any idea on a new learning deal? Because you say
I think you've got one of the incredible lady around the table explaining that start to learn how to code. And I like to say to my kids, do whatever you want, but I would like that you can code, because you will all the time have a job. If you don't find a job in your domain, you will have a job because you can code, only that. And I think it's super important to don't be afraid about that one. It's not so hard and so crazy. Okay, there is a learning curve, of course, but you've got the learning curve to anything. Lifelong learning. I will ask to any government and any deal, as you said, lifelong learning. We need to help people to understand what will arrive to their job and domain in 3 to 5 years. Because if they know, they can take the decision for themselves. If they don't know, they will arrive in 5 years, said, I'm still doing my job in the old-fashioned style, but why not the machine is doing better than me?
Okay,
yeah,
so
sorry. I think there are many things, because when we think about that, we tend to think about education, but not life learning, and this is a mistake. We should not forget that life learning is even as important as education, you know. And if we think about education like a very practical idea, I realized with elementary school in France or in the US, you know, I mean, everywhere. And but let's talk about France. We ask so much, you know, from the teacher. The teacher is doing so much, you know. They are the ones that they have to learn so much more in a short period of time. They have to change from one year to another. And let me give you two examples. I mean, the two things they ask them, you know, to teach is English and computer programming. Those are two things that are very hard if you have not learned that from the beginning, you know. And so I'm like, instead of asking those teachers to do even more and more and more, I mean, why don't we have a more flexible system in which we have teachers who are only teaching English or only teaching computer program, and they teach only that? And so instead of having one teacher, you know, when you're 8 years old, you can have one teacher for math, French, whatever, history, biology, and then, or art, and then you have, you know, one teacher for English and one teacher for computer science, because I felt that we ask too much to the I mean, I'm pretty sure about that. I think it's very different when you take, like, when you look at middle school, high school teacher, or kindergarten, elementary school teacher. I think we ask them for too much. We ask them too much. We have to be more flexible. So we make sure that we provide the kids with the best education, the best level, by actually better leveraging what teachers can do, how they are the best, you know, in which fields. And I'm sure, you know what, I'm sure we can find people. I know one person actually who is an engineer, and he would love to be an elementary school, you know, a computer programming teacher. Only that. So why don't we give the opportunity? I don't know. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe more and more in the small degrees, you know, like you can decide anytime. I think solution online with short degrees, like 2-3 months, can be good. I think it's only in Europe that you cannot move from your job to another job so quickly. In US, it's completely in the mindset. I'm seeing that here it seems exactly to be the same in Dubai. And globally, you can maybe like an engineer and moving to a teacher, to teaching, and maybe not globally, but through lectures. Sometimes coming incentive in schools. I think it's also about the role model. And if you've got someone that you say, oh my, I would like to become like already, and globally you will follow the path, and you will have a guide to help you in this learning process. And also about lifelong learning, completely agree with already about there is a big difference about education as we know it with lifelong learning. I think the first quality we will have to people for the future, it's about the capability to going out of the comfort zone. Because we'll have so many disruption and evolution about the jobs. And I don't say that maybe the lawyer will not exist anymore. But the lawyer as we know today in 4 years will not exist anymore. You will have a new generation of lawyers. And how you can teach this type of new jobs who is still not existing today with lawyer at the end of the day. But imagine you are a lawyer in 4 years, you get a machine that you don't need to look for anything. The machine will find for you directly, doing the report and everything, and your job is mainly to be in front of the judge, making the plaidoyer. I don't know how we translate that in English. And but globally, that's the point. And it's super important to help people to understand how their job is evolving. Today, we were really focused on education from the young age to at the end of the university. But one of the key for our civilization is certainly thinking about how we can support people to their life.
Yeah.
In South Korea, there is some initiative about personal tutors, and it's completely connected to what already said. Personal tutors are taking in charge the daily job and supporting the people, and after the teacher can be more like in inverse mode. People can come later asking the question, workshop, open discussion, as the machine can support the daily work. There is maybe a way there, but we are creating, why not, this kind of tool.
Okay. So there are many aspects in the question of education and lifelong learning, but the main idea is we are learning continuously, so we have to teach the people the capacity of learning, so they learn to learn. That's the main idea.
And
Yeah.
I think we need more translator. Aurélie is doing,
Mhm.
and I'm not here to give only flow to Aurélie, but globally she's doing an amazing job that I cannot do, translating to books. I was so impressed because we are discussing a lot with my wife about technology, machine learning, everything, and when she wrote the book of Aurélie, she said, oh, okay, I understand better, and I'm wrong, ask me. And
because she likes me. She likes me.
Yeah.
But we
Okay.
need to have more translators. We
Yeah.
need to have
So, do you
more.
know Mieke de Ketelaar, Grégory and Aurélie? So she just published a book 1 year ago in French, and now today, it was published in in German. She presented in Zurich. So she talks about AI translator, and I think you're right. This is the most important. So maybe before concluding, say a word. You have talked a bit about insurance, and Aurélie, you are very active in medicine. Do you want to say something about it? Because
I will,
health
sure, I will.
is. Mhm.
Sure, yeah. Based on the time, I would just let Greg talk about insurance. Just very quickly, I would just briefly, and then I will let Greg talk about insurance. But yeah, there are many fields in which there are two things that are going to happen in the future. First, we're going to evolve. We're going to make improvements in the type of algorithm and how they are trained and the type of data on which they are trained, obviously, and then unstructured, structured, etc. And we are also going to use in a very different ways and deeper those algorithms into very broad range of fields, and medicine is one of them. Health in general, I really believe in that, and I work in precision medicine. Predictive medicine is going to be a big deal. You know, how we can actually personalize the treatment, how we can actually predict a disease without waiting for it to happen, etc., etc. And I think we will go to that direction. And we want to make sure, you know, coming back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, which is what we have to make sure that everybody can access this next generation of healthcare.
Mhm.
Absolutely, I think you summarize well the point. It's super important that it's vulgarization of healthcare. And today we are super lucky in Europe. In US, is already different regarding the healthcare system, and you've got a lot of people who cannot afford it. And how you can provide this type of support and system for people who don't have access directly to the wide level of healthcare insurance and everything. It's really key. Using technology to help. I remember some elements like you can take a picture, it will give you an idea about what's happening in your skin. And but you can also use to analyze maybe your information about your history of healthcare to better understand what can arrive, and maybe some analysis that doctors don't have because they just maybe don't have the right level of understanding.
Mhm. So yeah, it is important that we do some training in AI by doctors, for the doctors, and not only by engineers. So that's what we are working on with Giovanni Briganti, for example, here, to have new trainings that are developed by doctors that have both education. And on the insurance aspect, what do you want to say? So we had on Monday, we had a presentation of the Moonshot project, the AI for Health for Belgium. So it would be really great, Aurélie, Grégory, to discuss with you on this Moonshot challenge, because we decided that health is the sector for Belgium we want to invest in and make Belgium a place for AI for Health. Meaning the other aspects are important also, but this is the main focus.
And I think it's a good focus, because even when you anything you will do in what field will actually be a benefit to, would be beneficial to other fields. You know, so things we're doing for medical application will have an application for other industries or cases. So we should think broadly, and health is, let's put it that way, we've experienced in the past 2 years a global health problem, pandemic. So I think we can say that health, and this actually pandemic, you know, underlines the problems in our health system in many countries. You know, so I think it's not. I think it's relevant to consider health, medical application, medicine in general, as a priority. I don't know what you think about it, Greg.
Yeah, absolutely. It's key. One of the first domains where you can apply automation, because at the end of the day, we are talking about automation. We did not invent anything. It started with the third revolution, moving from artificial muscles to artificial neurons. And if there is certainly one domain where we can simplify the process, the workflow, it's certainly healthcare. Healthcare to provide better assistance to the people, better reimbursement, better detection also about the fraud in the domain. Because when you get people doing fraud, it's not helping the good people in the same time. And how you can detect all this information. As I said early in our discussion, we are working with one of my team on automation of claims. And it's working at a super high level. We've got very good accuracy, extracting everything, analyzing the elements, mainly because we had so many evolution in tools to moving from images to text, and after analyzing the text, understand everything. There is a lot of breakthrough in our industry and more on the technical level that completely leverage progress. And it's super important to make sure that this kind of progress can be useful for the people, and not only for a few. And completely agree. And we had discussion here. Healthcare is also one of the key strategic domain everyone is working on.
Okay, so we come to an end, and I will welcome Luc Julia in another session. So I don't know how you want to manage this. I think maybe people here wants to ask you questions. We can maybe share also share the link to the next VIP keynote, and what would you do? I would like to thank you very much, and we will for sure have a follow-up of this. I must go in the other session, maybe
But
Antoine.
thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, it has been okay. So I leave you now, and I think we have some links, and we can follow up on different aspects. I will sum up like that. Thank you, and see you.
Thank you
soon.
very much.
Bye.
Thank you
very much. Have a great day.
Yeah.